some donation. So check it out when you have a second. I am Jacob Parrish. This is Bitcoin Charlotte. We've been hosting this since 2013. And well, this is a great turnout. Thank you everyone for coming. We have a website, bitcoincharlotte.org. And if you go to /connect on there, there's social media and a newsletter you can connect to if you want to stay up to date. And thank you for OMB for the space and Sound Choice Productions for filming. And I will pass it on to Liz, who is organizing the events, and get us going here.
Thanks, Jacob. Hi, everybody. My name is Liz. I'm Jacob's sister, and I am running events for Bitcoin Charlotte. This is a series of events that we'll be having for the rest of the year. So after this one, our next one will be with one of our own members, David Seroy, and he is going to be talking about what is money and how Bitcoin fixes some of the fiat problems that we have, and that will be August 10th at Wooden Robot at 6 p.m. So with that, I'll introduce our speaker. He is a Charlotte native. He also is a fellow Wolfpack alum, like myself. Go Wolfpack. He is, as many of you know, the best-selling author of Bitcoin in Black America. The second edition of his book is out now for pre-sale with only 10,000 copies. He is also the co-host of The Gentleman of Crypto, which can be seen on YouTube.
It's all good.
He's, although he's becoming very famous in the Twitter crypto space with over 45,000 followers, I truly believe his strengths lie in the local community. Since his involvement in 2013, he's been an active educator in the space. He has many startup guides, classes, and he's been a huge speaker around the nation. He truly believes if you free your money, you can also free your community. And so tonight, he's going to be teaching us why it's important for our kids to understand Bitcoin in order to grow generational wealth and financial freedom. So please help me in welcoming the man who made famous No Keys, No Cheese, Isaiah Jackson.
Thank you for that awesome introduction, Liz. I appreciate it. First and foremost, cheers to everybody. Thank you for coming out. Cheers. All right, let's get it going. So tonight we'll be discussing why kids need Bitcoin. This is very dear and near to my heart, simply because, and I'll run through this since she already kind of did it. Outside of the book and the show, I'm also a board member for Innovative Learning, which is a summer camp here in Charlotte, the first Bitcoin summer camp. We just finished on Monday, had 3 sessions, taught kids between the ages of 8 and 15, so great for those kids. And I'm also a father. I just had a daughter. She's 9 months old, at home sleeping or yelling right now. And as you can see, she runs the house already. So that is my daughter, Gigi. So I plan on teaching my daughter about Bitcoin, so I want others to know some of the tools that you can use as well. So our agenda for tonight, I won't hold you too long. It'll only be about 15 to 20 minutes, I promise. But we'll discuss why Bitcoin is for everyone. We'll discuss what kids need to learn. We'll go through some of the things of how to teach Bitcoin, and then we'll discuss securing our future. All right, so let's jump right into it. So first of all, no kid under the age of 12 has lived in a world without Bitcoin. Bitcoin was created in 2009. Every kid that's born from here on out is going to live in a world with Bitcoin. All right, and the reason we all love Bitcoin, it's not racist, it's not sexist, it's not classist, and most importantly, for this presentation, it's not ageist. All right? None of that applies in Bitcoin. It's for everyone, all right? So, what we have to understand is, if Bitcoin is for everyone, age should not limit financial access, all right? In fact, people who are younger usually adapt and learn about financial stuff from you and take it on faster, which is why financial literacy should start early, even outside of Bitcoin. You gotta start financial literacy early with kids so that they have a good base to start with. Personally, I didn't get taught any financial literacy in school. I don't know about anybody else, but public school basically left that out of the curriculum. So I didn't learn that at all. But we also have to remember that the future of finance will be built off of kids' imagination. Because, let's be honest here, we're all in 20 years going to be the old guys talking about the old days of Bitcoin. I remember in the good old days, I had to copy and paste my public address, and that's going to be us. But kids' imagination is what's going to keep this going, right? So that's why it's imperative that we teach them. And it's a brand new world. If you haven't realized it, the 21st century economy will be digital, period. Deal with it. We're not going backwards. So we have to prepare now and get kids prepared for what's coming, because tech moves things extremely fast. I'm sure people are familiar with Moore's Law. I'm sure you're familiar with some of the different aspects that show you that tech is speeding up how we learn. You have to teach them things that they may not have access to or even been invented yet. Much like Bitcoin when I was in college, it wasn't even invented, and here I am. So kids, they grow up in a digital world, pretty much they understand. I mean, you usually have newborns with a phone in their face from the moment they're born. They have iPads, they have laptops, they understand the digital world, and because of that, they have this familiarity. And digital currencies have been used in video games, phone apps, they've seen it on Roblox, they've seen it on Fortnite bucks. My nephew gets me for at least $100 worth of Fortnite bucks every time I see him. They're used to it. Introducing digital currency is not scary to them. So they're familiar with it. It's also pretty fun. There's different ways that you can earn Bitcoin for learning about Bitcoin itself in games and education, which I'll show more later. Furthermore, it is the future. People who are in Bitcoin long enough understand. It teaches you a new way of thinking. You learn about new tech. You are introduced to new math, maybe Keynesian theory, history of money. All of these things are for our kids, for their future. And you're also basically setting up kids with job and career security. Because I believe in this sector, this will be the most profitable sector going forward in the future. So you're setting them up for success from the very beginning. And also family. Family that Bitcoin's together stays together, right? So when families discuss it, I know it can get annoying, because I'm sure everybody in my family was annoyed back in 2013 when they were like, what is this crazy internet drug dealer money that you're talking about? But now everybody in my family can't stop talking about it. So it works, and with kids, they're usually the ones that can pass it around even faster, right? Quick quote here. Younger demographics appear most inclined to purchase Bitcoin. 55% of those aged 18 to 34. This is actually up 13% from last year, or from 2019. They said they are very or somewhat likely to purchase Bitcoin in the next 5 years, compared to 26% of those aged 35 plus. So what you have to understand, this number is actually going to increase. And the number of kids who are going to want Bitcoin, own Bitcoin, use it, is only going to increase over time. So we have to be mindful of that fact, and we have to do the work it takes to teach them correctly, all right? And times are changing, right? This handsome fellow right here, Peter Schiff, you may know him, legendary gold investor, back in September 8th of 2020, actually stated, whose advice do you want to follow? 57-year-old experienced investor / business owner who's been an investment professional for over 30 years, or an 18-year-old college freshman who's never even had a job. And since September 8th, 2020, Peter Schiff's gold investment not looking too hot. However, his kid, Spencer Schiff, 18 years old, 296% since September 8th. So, you can give that a hand. But you have to realize, the kids, they know. They understand it early. There's an entire industry built around seeing what kids like so that they market it to you because you have to pay for it, right? And in my opinion, when Bitcoin starts getting taught to kids, they'll introduce it to their parents, they'll introduce it to others, and from that point, we'll have the network effect we talk about, all right? So, how do you teach Bitcoin to your kids? What are some ways or some things that you can do? First and foremost, I think the most effective way is gaming, all right? Earning Bitcoin and cryptocurrency for games and education. Kids already play games. I'm one of those people that I like to meet people where they are, all right? So, if kids are already playing games, let's implement that to teach them Bitcoin. All right, entrepreneurship. I was a very entrepreneurial young man myself, selling candy, selling baseball cards, selling whatever. Sell those goods for Bitcoin, or at least encourage them to, instead of fiat currency. Introduce them to Lightning Network so that they can actually process those payments, which is a good way to start. Also, NFTs, creating art and allowing donations on your birthday with a QR code, which, a real world example, my good friend here, Michael Johnson, he used to play for the Dodgers, he's a full-time artist now. He created an NFT for a young kid, Jock, and this QR code, if you donate to it, it actually unlocks when Jock turns 18. So this is available for you to do for your kids, time-locked in Bitcoin, so that when they turn 18, the Bitcoin that's donated, if you, family, or friends, can be theirs, all right? Doesn't have to be as complicated as it is, but it is possible, all right? A few other ways, summer camps. Camps and classes that teach Bitcoin to school-age kids. I just finished one. There's a camp in Inglewood, California. Shout out to Naja Roberts. She was the first. And this is a way to teach kids about Bitcoin outside of the traditional public school system. As a former teacher, I can tell you, it's damn near impossible to change that curriculum. So we have to do it in a summer camp, all right? Or an after school, or something supplementary. All right, tech development. The ability to teach a kid about coding, building smart contracts, building on maybe RSK, building on Lightning Network, anything smart contract and decentralized app development based, that is a way to get kids into Bitcoin. And there are a number of ways to do that. There's a number of programs available for kids for that. And also financial education. Keeping track of the ledger, of the Bitcoin ledger, even exploring the block explorer, being able to see inputs and outputs for transactions is a great way to teach them the basics of keeping and accounting, all right? So these are the basic ways of how you teach, and these are some real life examples of kids who have learned about Bitcoin. This summer camp, like I said, we just finished on Monday. We had about 25 kids total between in person and online, and when you look at the impact for a lot of them, they don't really know what they learned, they just liked it. And that's sort of the thing, you have to put the medicine in the candy. They don't understand that they're learning about the future of finance, but they understand that Bitcoin is for everybody. So good to see there. A few different other ways, college Bitcoin groups. I would love to see it at NC State, but they are so slow dragging their feet, which is my alma mater, but your alma mater. You can approach them, talk to them about maybe adding it to their endowment fund, starting a college Bitcoin group with some of the kids there, either in the tech field or in B school. Either one, you can probably start a Bitcoin group. Pay them for chores. Give your kid a Lightning Network or a Lightning wallet. Allow them to get paid in Bitcoin. What it does is two things. One, they learn about Bitcoin. For two, it incentivizes saving. Because the first thing the kids in summer camp did when I gave them Bitcoin, they were like, so what can I spend it on? And that's the thing. They can't really, because they can, but at the same time, you're incentivizing saving long term when you do that. So in the school curriculum, like I said, it's almost impossible, but you can approach your school board and discuss getting Bitcoin in the curriculum, or at least a part of the financial literacy program in schools, all right? And then last but not least, donating programs. You can use a service like BitGive, which is what we use for donations for the summer camp. Donate Bitcoin for educational resources, which you can write off on your taxes. So that is another way that you can use Bitcoin to teach kids or to support them, all right? And securing our future, this is how we can do it. First things first, you have to realize you don't own Bitcoin. You're literally just storing it for the next generation. That's it. Your private keys can't go with you into the grave. Hopefully you don't take it with you, that's pretty selfish, but you have to understand you're storing it for the next generation, all right? And some of the ways that you can make sure that you secure that future is cold storage. Everybody should have cold storage, at least one, if not multiple, all right? I used to work in IT, I'm a little bit more anal about it. I'm not gonna tell you to put it in a fireproof safe, in an off-site location that nobody can identify. You don't have to do all that, but cold storage, you have to make sure you have it stored long-term in right directions. That is key. Write the directions, because if there is some sort of computer problem or there's some sort of catastrophe that gets rid of your information online, you have to have it written out as backups, right? Oh, teach your kids the importance of saving and delayed gratification. I know it's hard with kids. I want to teach them how to hold. Bitcoin is a long-term thing. And as they see Bitcoin grow over time, that will usually convince even an adult to continue with Bitcoin. All right, so teaching them to hold. News and updates. I do a daily show, The Gentleman of Crypto, every day, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. We do news and updates, longest running crypto show in the world. We've been doing it for almost 5 years now. I guarantee you, if you share a few of those stories with kids and they can start to see how Bitcoin is intertwined in some of these geopolitical moves, they'll start to see how the world works. One of the things I did with the kids at summer camp is we did a Federal Reserve exercise. And when I showed them how I'm Federal Reserve, I had three other kids were banks. Gave it to them, they could give it to whoever they want, and then I imposed sanctions. So one table or one group couldn't get it, and then we did it again, and then we did it again, and then I imposed sanctions on somebody else, and then we introduced inflation. By the end of the exercise, one group had all the money, and the kids realized really quick, that's why wars are started. Because I asked them, I said, the tables that don't have any money, how are you gonna get money from this middle table? They were like, we'll beat them up, we'll steal it. That's what countries do. That's what has happened. So when they can start to see stories and intertwine it, they can start to see why Bitcoin is important. And last but not least, set up a node. Bitcoin and Lightning nodes help secure the future. They also help create passive income based on how you set up your Lightning payment channel. and it can last forever. This is generation. You can set up a node and you can have it running forever. So that is great for securing your future. And I want to end here with some of the resources that you can use. This presentation, I will email it to you, Jacob, so that you can disseminate it amongst everybody else. These are some of the resources that you can use to teach kids, and even maybe teach yourself or others who are starting at a base level. But Bitcoin Elementary is a great book we use for the camp. Bitcoin Money, another book we use for the camp. Play Charmery, a memory game, awesome memory game to teach you about mining, learn some stuff myself. Also, Roller Coin game, which we use as well. It's a game about mining, has a built-in wallet. It actually lets you build up your mining facility as you go along. And a few more resources, Bitcoin, The Future of Money. This is the kids edition by A.D. Lardy. Good book as well. There's also OutSchool, online Bitcoin camp. It's a 2-week camp. It starts August 10th, and I believe it's $150. So if you have a kid who wants to learn online, they missed the camp this year that we threw. That's another place that you can learn about it. Also, Bitopoly, card game about Bitcoin. A little bit more complicated, so you want to use it maybe for teenagers, but that's a great way to learn about Bitcoin as well. And then if you have an Android phone, there's a few games that you can earn Bitcoin. Bitcoin Pop is the one I saw that was probably the most trustworthy. Because let's be honest, some of these games, they're just trying to steal your money just to make it seem like you're in Bitcoin. But Bitcoin Pop is great. So these are the resources you can use to teach your kids about Bitcoin, and this is why I believe kids should be using Bitcoin and why we should be teaching our kids Bitcoin. So, if we have any questions or comments, let me know, and we can do a quick Q&A. Yes, sir.
What, you were talking about your show earlier.
Yes.
What you do daily, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Are there any stories, crypto stories as of late that you covered that you particularly found interesting?
Yes, so most interesting was, so far, the question was some of the stories on the Daily Show. What was the most interesting stories recently? The most recent interesting stories are, to me, how regulators have started to react to Bitcoin. Once Bitcoin sort of got established with El Salvador getting it, with a lot of corporations starting to buy it, out of the woodwork, we have all these dinosaurs come up and say, well, what is Bitcoin, or what is blockchain or crypto going to do? We need to regulate it. And again, they don't understand it that much. So the biggest stories were Senator Warren today and yesterday coming out and talking about it. Jerome Powell from the Fed. Anybody basically in the US Senate hearing 2 days ago was probably our biggest stories. Because regulations, we all understand you can't stop Bitcoin. You can just make money off of it. Control the on-ramps. You can scare people out of it. But those are my favorite stories because it shows we're winning. Actually, I kind of feel like we already won. They're just scrambling to see how they can make money off of the on-ramp. So those are my favorite stories recently. Yeah, thank you. Yes, sir, in the back.
What are your thoughts on Bitcoin being a store of value versus a currency?
Oh yeah, so because money has stages, as a store of value, we have proven that with Bitcoin over the last 12 years. Started out as a collectible, we're at a store of value. I believe we're gonna have some sort of game theory play out in the next 10 years where medium of exchange with Bitcoin using Lightning will be beneficial because you'll get discounts, which that'll sort of bring about the ethos of why Bitcoin was created, peer-to-peer money. Right now, not really a good time to spend it, but if we're looking at 80, 90% discounts because people are desperate to get Bitcoin as a business, it's almost gonna be impossible to get it. So they're gonna have to accept Bitcoin, and as consumers, we'll say, all right, we'll pay with Bitcoin, but I'm gonna need a discount, big discount. And that's when you can start to see, purchasing power go back into the hands of the people, because that's how you use it. And I think Satoshis should be the standard on exchanges now. I believe saying Bitcoin sort of mentally takes people out. One Bitcoin's 40,000. That sounds bad, but a million Satoshis is $400. Sounds a little bit better, right? So I just think we're getting to that point, but it takes time. And then from that point, it'll be a unit of account. Probably won't even mention Bitcoin anywhere. We don't talk about layer 2 technology with Wi-Fi and whatever else in Linux. So it just is what it is. So at that point, I think medium of exchange will come, at least 10 years. Oh, yes, sir.
You mentioned cold storage.
Yes.
Something I'm looking into. I've been reluctant to move forward with it on that side.
Yeah, I got you.
But what do you suggest? What's your philosophy or recommendation on starting to look at cold storage seriously?
Oh yeah, so first, make sure you have at least, in my opinion, 2 cold storage places. One is fine, but I will always say 2 different cold storage devices. And the ones I would use, Cold Card Wallet is a good one.
Okay.
Trezor is very popular, that's a good one. Ledger, very popular as well. So Ledger, Trezor, Cold Card, look up those 3. between the price and how it looks or how it functions, you choose from there. The cold card is, I would say, probably your best bet to start. Pretty easy. Looks like a small calculator.
What about services like Casa?
Casa hold, yep, absolutely. They hold your keys. Multi-sig, Casa's good as well. Absolutely. And any more questions? Or we can wrap it up there. Yes, sir.
What's your opinion on some of the interest-bearing services, Celsius, BlockFi? You give me your Bitcoin, I'm gonna pay you 6% interest. I don't know keys, no cheese, but is there an exception in that case?
Yes, so you have to have your security, whatever your security risk level is, right? So no keys, no cheese is real. If you send it to BlockFi, if you send it to Celsius, you can't make money off of it. If something happens, for example, BlockFi just got hit with cease and desist or charges from Alabama, Texas, and New Jersey for selling securities. What if that exchange stops or goes down? Now you gotta deal with them to get your Bitcoin back. So if you're willing to take the risk of that happening, then it's fine. And in my opinion, if you can use stable coins, anything outside of a bank is fine. You can use stable coins to stake for 6 to 8%. You're killing banks because they don't give you anything but 0.7, 0.2%, if that. So I would say whatever your risk is, don't put your whole stack in there. But I do think that is a great way to earn interest. You just have to be careful because I've seen a lot of exchanges go down. I've seen Mt. Gox, I've seen Quadriga CX. We're watching Binance fall right in front of our eyes. I've seen BitMEX take a hit. I remember when Coinbase turned into the feds. I mean, it happens all the time. So you just gotta make sure you don't risk it all trying to get greedy.
The same play is stick stable in there, or you just back in Bitcoin, so you're not actually getting Bitcoin.
Exactly. Exactly, and that's what I would suggest. Because with Bitcoin, again, you want to hold on to it yourself. That's the point of it. But if you want to take that chance, that's fine as well. But their interest rates are, I believe, down to 3% or 2%. Yeah, it used to be 6, and then they dropped it. So if they drop it again. It's like, well, what's the point? I mean, it's not enough for me. 3%. Compound annual growth for Bitcoin is over 200. That's enough for me. I'm kind of good with that. Plus, the tax implications of holding are a little bit better. So, yes, sir, in the back.
With like kids and games, how much of a concern is like data mining or like getting kids with like blockchain IDs and social credit scoring kind of network? I don't know.
Like easing it. Well, I would say first use a VPN just to start. Just anytime use a VPN if you don't want data mining to occur. Also on these sites, a lot of times when you sign up, they don't require email, so they don't actually have a connection to you outside of you just start. And it remembers the IP that you're using or whatnot, but with a VPN, you can switch it every time. So with the games, I wouldn't worry about it that much. I would be more worried about your phones, actually, with data mining. I mean, everybody has social media, you get mined right now. So I wouldn't worry about it too much with the Bitcoin games. Yes, sir, right here.
When you're talking with kids, or I think anybody, and it comes to kind of like self-custody of this digital asset and understanding, you're seeing your numbers on a screen, whether it's your Satoshis, whether they're in a wallet. How are you kind of communicating and help people understand that you're controlling your Bitcoin or someone else's and what that trade-off is?
You mean with wallets?
Yeah.
The storage? Okay, so what I always tell people is, use a third party to store your Bitcoin. You have to trust that third party. For some people, they don't need to move it off of a third party because they're going to lose it, frankly. Everybody's not able to do it. But for most people who want to be self-sovereign, I tell them, if you want to be your own bank, you have to own your own keys. That's where no keys, no cheese came from. Because a lot of people were stuck with exchanges, wallets, and they're like, I trust them. And being in this almost 9 years now, I don't trust any of them. I mean, I'm good friends with Jack Dorsey. I don't trust Cash App. I've told him that to his face. And for real, because you can't. You don't trust, you verify in Bitcoin, all right? And the only way to verify it with, in my opinion, your own private keys. So that's how I show the importance of it. But I always tell them that if you trust this third party, go for it. Because some people will transfer it off. And like you were saying, you're scared to do it. If you lose it, you know how it goes. There's no insurance policy. There's no FDIC to come save you. So it's gone. So I do understand it for some people, but most people should move towards self-sovereignty, I believe. Yes, sir. And I believe we have one. Yes, sir.
So you all discussed your thoughts regarding companies mining, companies that are like property managers in a way, where they're mining Bitcoin and investing in those companies. What's your thoughts around that?
Yes, so I think that is a great way to get exposure to the market for people who can't buy Bitcoin directly. So for people who buy into Riot Blockchain, who buy into Compass Mining, who purchase stocks in these mining companies, a lot of times, especially big corporations and investment companies, this is their exposure to Bitcoin. When mining hash power goes up, usually the price follows. So on the back end, usually the stock price goes up as well. Just look at MicroStrategy. They were dead for years. As soon as they introduced Bitcoin, went up. And MicroStrategy has been great ever since. So I would say investing in them with stocks is a good play to get exposure without buying the direct asset. However, I would say, why not just buy Bitcoin? I mean, if that's the point, is the exposure to Bitcoin and its increasing growth is going to allow you to make money. Those fiat dollars, in my opinion, are going to get inflated through the roof, and you need Bitcoin anyway to combat that inflation. So just start buying Bitcoin, or split it. Say, hey, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. Do it that way and say, hey, I'll get some exposure to stocks, and I'll keep some just as an asset that I hold.
Would you invest in the miners at all?
In the miners directly, like the actual hardware? No, only because the amount of time it takes to set up mining, the amount of money you need to actually make profit, it's a little bit in the millions, and you're gonna need a warehouse. And on top of that, you don't have to mine in order to run a node. So to keep the network up, to keep the network going and to keep it strong, you don't need to mine per se. So I wouldn't personally, I know people with millions of dollars who could probably do it if they wanted to, but setting up a mining operation from scratch, not my cup of tea. I did mine back in the day when it was GPU mining, when it was on the computer. That was a long time ago, but the hash power is gone now. It's way too much for individuals. Yes, sir.
Yeah, like speaking of like hash power and stuff like that, what would you say is like the biggest threat to Bitcoin? Like China bans like its mining.
And nothing happened. China's been banning Bitcoin since forever. Anybody that's been in long enough, that's usually a buy signal. If China bans it, look at the chart after China bans it. Goes up. So the thing that could kill Bitcoin, I mean, I usually look at things that could kill Bitcoin more than I look at the reason why it would succeed. And I haven't found it, simply because the way game theory plays out, the incentive for having something like Bitcoin was too big. I believe the bankers fucked up in 08. They shouldn't have crashed the market like they did. And that's the reason why they'll have people who are going to keep Bitcoin going forever. There's people that's never leaving, even myself personally. If it goes to zero, oh well, we tried. I'm holding till then. So anything that can kill it, I know there's been debates about the environment. That's nothing more than money play. There's been debates about if there was colored coins, which means that certain coins won't be fungible because they'll say these coins from this address are blacklisted. These coins are black. You still can't stop Bitcoin because what happens in that case, if there's coins that are blacklisted and taken off, what happened to the supply? It just shrunk. And that actually makes the price go up. Exactly. And then if you ban it, Nigeria tried to ban it, Venezuela tried to ban it, India tried to ban it. Every single time, price went up because prohibition doesn't work. Just like we tried to ban alcohol in the 20s, what happened? Price went up. Prohibition doesn't work. So what could take Bitcoin out? Nothing. I think that's been conceded by leaders. That's why they're just getting in position with banks to buy exchanges and make money off of us. So if there is somebody who has a theory that could take down Bitcoin, let me know. I would love to study it because I like to look at the opposite end of the spectrum so I can be ready. So.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So as far as Lightning Network goes, what's your thoughts on like the kind of a viable number to set up a channel? Like maybe it's for some business and website or something like that. Or is there like a number that you say, hey, this is a kind of a viable number to sustain?
Not exactly. I mean, you can start with a small amount. I would say a million Satoshis to start is good, which, like I said, now is about $400. But I would say a good thing to do is there's something called PlebNet, where there's a group of people who get together with their payment channels, pool their money. I think it's about 60 Bitcoin worth channel, and they're able to process channels that way. So I would say maybe get with a group of people, pool it, and then all run that Lightning node together to get more. But you individually, million Satoshis should work. Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right. Gotcha.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
I have two questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you back that slide up for Officer Tap? You said are you teaching the class on
I am not teaching it, but I believe, hold on, you were talking about OutSchool Online Bitcoin Camp. It'll be taught by Bill Bard. He'll be teaching it online, which I've heard of him before. I don't know him personally, but you can review his work in the space as well. It's outschool.com. If you go there, the sign up is right on the top, and I actually have the link in the presentation. So when I email it out, you can use the link at the bottom as well.
And the second question I have for you, where do you think Bitcoin is going to be, say, in
2025, at least 500,000, if not more, just because of the supply crunch that I know is coming. Working with over-the-counter brokers and seeing how it's almost impossible to get it off exchanges now. The halvening of 2024, coupled with the price growth of now, I think we hit at least 500,000, which, honestly speaking, that's not much of the market cap of the total money supply. So I can see us getting there. 10x from here is not very hard. We just did it in 2020 to now. So. Yes, sir.
What do you think about real estate, legal documents, and under the blockchain, kind of have what NFTs do in the art?
So I used to work for a real estate law firm, and I saw all the steps in between for people to get houses. Way too much. Their jobs are in jeopardy. That's all I have to say. Because smart contracts, they really are much easier. I mean, you have to audit the code. You have to have trust third parties. There's a lot you have to flesh out. And plus, real estate, a lot of it is owned by banks. So the smart contracts they use may be private blockchains, so you may not even be able to use or see it like open source code, but they're going to have to use it because executing something that is so bloated in price, they're not going to do that anymore. I mean, if you can take 6 employees and narrow it down to 6 lines of code, every company is going to do that. So I'm with you. It is happening, but there's going to be even slower adoption than other stuff because real estate market is pretty slow. And then bringing in new technology, you got to remember that means the people at these companies have to do more work to bring in this new technology. So they kind of hold off if they don't have to, but it's coming. You probably have to give it another decade, though. Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts on Taproot competing with Ethereum?
Taproot. So when we do the upgrade of Taproot, it gives us another level of privacy for Bitcoin. I don't think Bitcoin's ever been competing with Ethereum because they have 2 different goals. Bitcoin's trying to be a global monetary system, and Ethereum is for smart contracts and decentralized apps. I don't look at price much, so I don't think Ethereum, as far as it catching up, has anything to do with Bitcoin. I just think Taproot makes Bitcoin better. I think Lightning Network gets rid of the need for a lot of different cryptocurrencies. And I think if you have a level of privacy at that layer 1, and then you also have that extra layer of privacy at layer 2, as far as money goes, I don't know if Ethereum can compete. But Ethereum has this use case for what it does. It's not trying to be a global monetary system, so it's not even same goals.
So what about smart contracts on the Bitcoin blockchain?
Yes.
Will that happen?
Yes, they already are. And like I stated, RSK, if you look up Rootstock, they have an entire DeFi on Bitcoin platform. They have stablecoin. You have the ability to build smart contracts. There's smart contracts built in already, like the NFT I showed, where the time lock, that's a smart contract. It time locks it until age 18. So they already have it. The thing with Ethereum is they move fast and break things. So you have a lot of decentralized apps, you have a lot of developers, but you have a lot of DeFi hacks, you have a lot of protocols that rug pull, you have a lot of garbage that comes out on these protocols. So they move fast, and Bitcoin moves a little bit slower, but that helps with security. Proof of work, the reason why it is a bit slower is because it makes it more secure. Ethereum, not as much. So the difference between smart contracts, that's the big difference that I see. Yes, sir.
Going off like the real estate question, how far do you think we are from like, you go into a mall and you pay with Bitcoin there? Earlier this week, we saw Amazon had like their job posted related to crypto. Like how far over there do you think that is? Like where you can like shop online and retail?
So we're there now, just not as much as people think. Because again, it's not in your face, it's not everywhere you go. But 2 things on that. First things first, you don't need to actually spend Bitcoin for it to be valuable. Gold, nobody walks into the mall with gold and shaves it off and is like, yeah, look at this shoes. But it's a $10 trillion market. So money as an aspect doesn't have to be spent in order to be valuable, so that's first. But second, because I believe it will be in the future a medium of exchange, some of the places you'll see it being used online is kind of buried. You'll go on, you'll pay, you'll do PayPal, and don't even think about it. But if you look, they have an option to put Bitcoin. Shopify, 2-point-something million stores. They all have the option to accept Bitcoin. DirecTV, I mean, you just go down the list. They all accept Bitcoin in their own manner, either through BitPay or whatever. But going to a store and seeing it, basically the whole "can I buy coffee with it" argument, it's kind of a moot point because it doesn't need to happen in order for it to be valuable as money, so to say. But when it is, you'll see it. A lot of companies in LA, where I live at as well. In LA, you see it everywhere. I mean, it's pretty regular. It's only in places where the development hasn't been as quick, you don't see it, but you'll start to see it a lot more. Especially now because nobody's taking cash. Like that COVID sped it up real quick for cash to be out of here. I paid with a 20 the other day and they were looking at me like, what? It was like I was paying with a check. I was like, Jesus Christ. We moving pretty fast. So yeah, I think we'll see it even faster. It just takes a little bit of time. Yes, sir, in the back.
I got kind of a two-part question. So when and why do you think, I guess it will transition from Bitcoin being more of an asset to a currency or a means of exchange? When is that going to happen and why?
Well, the reason why it will happen is my friends in Nigeria, my friends in Venezuela, my friends that have experienced hyperinflation, they need it to survive. They spend it to survive.
Why would they just not hold it and just exchange whatever the currency is?
Because the currency inflates faster than Bitcoin's volatility happens. We're talking about 400x volatility on some of these currencies, even more than that, depending on what countries. It's probably ridiculous. So the reason to spend it is there's a need for it. And like I said before, the game theory I think is going to play out. Right now, our inflation rate is we're being lied to. It's not 5.4%. It's actually closer to 15 to 20. That inflation rate is going to smack some people like a ton of bricks, and they'll start to realize I need to have money that combats inflation. So businesses are going to do the same thing. Are businesses going to keep cash if it's being inflated out? No, they say I'd rather have Bitcoin. And that's what I mean by the game theory playing out. That's what I think will happen, but why will be the desperation of consumers saying, hey, I need to spend money, but this cash is worth nothing. It's just paper. And unfortunately, we're seeing it play out right in front of our eyes. I don't think this is going to be some, super, Armageddon things that happen in America, but I do think slowly but surely that inflation rate is going to change the mindset of using Bitcoin in the next 10 years. I'm not saying this is next year. I would say next decade. Also, too, I do want to point out volatility with Bitcoin decreases as liquidity increases. So when we're talking about 100,000, 500,000 Bitcoin, $1 million Bitcoin, the volatility you see will get exponentially smaller as more liquidity enters the market. So it will make it even more viable for you to spend it because it won't be as volatile as people believe, right? So, any more questions? This has been great so far. I appreciate it, definitely. All right, so, one more.
Do you believe the future is multi-chain?
Multi-chain, possibly. I was just speaking with some developer for Layer 2 Lightning Labs, and we was talking about Layer 3. And he said if Layer 3 does happen, it'll be multi-chain. But that's you're way in the future, my brother. You're way out there. You're talking about blockchain and space economy type stuff. So it's possible, but right now, we should focus on making main chain as strong as possible, and then we'll probably venture out there. But you're on the right path, absolutely. So, no more questions. All hearts and minds are clear. All right, so I appreciate you all for having me today. I absolutely love this group. And I want a special thanks to Jacob. I actually went, my first meetup ever, we were at 7th Street Market. It was 5 dudes at a bar drinking beer, talking about Bitcoin back in 2014, 2015? Yeah, so Jacob, that's the first meetup, and it's great to come full circle, come back and see all these people here today. So thank you again, and I appreciate it. So, have a great day.